US President Donald Trump this week was all smiles, saying that the end of America's longest government shutdown was very near. He said this amounted to a very big victory for the Republicans. Trump quickly veered off into a victory lap just a day after the Senate passed a bill to end the government shutdown. For Trump, this was welcome respite after the election drubbing that the Republicans received just last week. And Trump lost no time in making this into a victory speech so close after an election defeat.
Will you abide by that if this passes?
Well, I will be. I'll abide by the deal. The deal is very good. We're not going to be giving $1.5 trillion to people that came in from jails and from, the gangs and drug dealers and all of these others that they wanted to be given health care, which would have hurt our health care system. I hope that we're going to be able to have a health care where Lindsay and I were discussing it, Jim and I were discussing it, and Katie, we discussed it. We want a health care system where we pay the money to the people instead of the insurance companies. And I tell you, we're going to be working on that very hard over the next short period of time, where the people get the money.
On this vote, the yeas are 60 and the nays.
The break in the congressional deadlock came just after a critical set of 8 Democratic senators joined with the Republicans and backed a spending bill. But they caved in on their primary demand, which was the omission of an extension on expiring federal health care subsidies by the end of the year, also known as Obamacare. Next, the bill easily passes in the House of Representatives, where the GOP has a majority, and then it lands up on the president's desk. President Trump will only be too eager to sign it and end the shutdown and claim political credit for it. The Democrats have once again let Trump take a win despite getting nothing in return. And now the Democratic base is revolting. The Democrats are facing vehement opposition to the deal which the 8 senators struck to end America's longest government shutdown. They've denounced this compromise deal that the Senate passed this week. Most Democrats in their base are saying that the deal did nothing to realize their main demand to end the 40-day shutdown, which was the extension of healthcare subsidies, which will expire by the end of the year. Yet, on Capitol Hill, the gang of 8 Democrats who hatched the agreement with the Republicans said that their stand was pragmatic, even if it was politically unpopular. They said there was no sign of Trump or the Republicans relenting, and there was no point keeping the shutdown going when a majority of Americans wanted solutions, not prolonging this misery.
And what we have in this bill is the restoration of all the furloughed employees and a guarantee of their back pay, the restoration of all RIFT employees who got RIFT after October 1 with all of their back pay, and a guarantee of no RIFs. No RIFs going forward. 2 million federal workers, not just my 300,000, 2 million federal workers who are not uniformed military now have a guarantee of no RIFs going forward. So they don't have to go into the holiday season with anxiety about what's going to show up on their email one morning at 5:30 a.m. That's a big win for 2 million federal employees, and added together with these other ingredients of robust appropriations bills and a guaranteed path forward to vote on fixing the ACA, that made me sign on and say, yes, we can do it.
The dispute was the latest evidence of a Democratic Party which is still deeply at odds on what its future direction is going to be. They also are still split down the middle on how to counter President Donald Trump. A president who has not lost a single opportunity to attack the Dems as losers and extremists. Less than a week after a major election night victory, the Democrats felt like they finally had wind on their backs, but now this shutdown deal has plunged them back into the latest round of public infighting. The fighting is really between the leadership of the party and their base. And the person against whom the base has turned against is Senator Chuck Schumer of New York. He's the Senate Minority Leader. He's the one who is supposed to hold all the Democrats together, which he did for about a month or so in the shutdown. But he's now come in for some of the harshest criticism. Several lawmakers from the party and several members of the Democratic base want Schumer to go. Schumer is 74 years old. He's likely to lose to a more progressive candidate from the Democratic Party if he were to choose to run again. Anger from across the party also erupted, and elected Democrats found themselves navigating new calls for a set of younger leaders to take over the party. Younger leaders who have a stomach for a fight against Trump. Many progressives and younger Democrats have argued increasingly that Schumer is no longer up for the fight against Trump.
People now see that premiums are about to skyrocket. They're terrified about how they're going to pay for their insurance. Democrats demanded that we find a way to fix this crisis and quickly, but Republicans have refused to move an inch. So I cannot support the Republican bill that's on the floor because it fails to do anything of substance to fix America's health care crisis. The health care crisis is causing millions of families back home sleepless nights because they don't know how they're going to afford health care insurance so much needed by their families. Doing nothing is unacceptable, but that's the choice the Republican side made in obeisance to Donald Trump. Republicans now own this health care crisis. They knew it was coming. We wanted to fix it. Republicans said no, and now it's on them.
After last week's election results, Democrats are back to being in disarray. Trump has managed to once again snatch victory from the jaws of defeat, and the Democrats have once again caved in to Trump after having him on the mat in last week's elections. In fact, if anything at all, the election results showed that America's mood had changed distinctly against Trump. Most American voters in the off-year election have held Trump responsible for the shutdown, something which he himself acknowledged the day after the results.
Talked about exactly 1 year ago we had that big, beautiful victory. Exactly 1 year. Last night it was, not expected to be a victory. It was very Democrat areas, but I don't think it was good for Republicans. I don't think it was good. I'm not sure it was good for anybody. But we had an interesting evening, and we learned a lot. If you read the pollsters, the shutdown was a big factor, negative for the Republicans. And that was a big factor. And they say that I wasn't on the ballot was the biggest factor. But I don't know about that, but I was honored that they said that.
But Trump was also digging his heels in. The White House was refusing to fund full food stamp benefits. That's a devastating consequence for low-income Americans, and they are a big vote bank for the Democratic Party. Also, federal government employees continue to go on without paychecks, while air travel delays and chaos around all airports in the country, all of this was adding to the angst of some of the Democratic senators who flipped. The Democrats felt like Trump would paint all of this chaos on their backs, even when the country was telling them otherwise. Despite all of that, many feel that the Democrats have ended the fight without securing any kind of healthcare deal in return. This, to the Democratic base, is disheartening, and it is disastrous politically at the same time, at a time when the voters are looking to the Democrats to do more. For many in the party, last Tuesday's election results were the first time in over a year that they felt good about their party, about their ability to punch back against Trump. Instead, many Democrats were surprised to see this gang of 8 betray them at the altar of Trump.